Okay, class, chapter 17, part 2. We're talking about limited liability companies, one of the preferred forms of business in today's world. And we mentioned that in order to have an LLC, you have to have an articles of organization, and you can have, it's optional, an operating agreement, which is similar to the bylaws that a corporation has. And the operating agreement is basically a day-to-day manual of how the organization is going to run. It's strongly recommended that it be in writing. So the operating agreement would talk about how management is going to be done, and how future managers will be chosen, how the profits will be divided, and how members' interests may be transferred. It provides for the disassociation procedures, that is, how a member leaves, whether they're going to have meetings and whether they will be formal, and how they'll be, and how voting rights will be apportioned. Will everybody have the same amount of voting rights and power in the structure? Okay, now this is important. It's very similar to what we talked about with partnerships. And that is, to a large degree, you can do whatever you want in your operating agreement or how you operate your LLC. However, if you fail to state how you're going to do something, then state statutes are going to have gap-filling provisions, and they're going to state what will apply. Where it's silent, where the statutes are silent, and your agreement is silent, the law may apply partnership law. The financial structure mimics to some degree a partnership. The initial assets are usually provided by the members in form of cash, property, or services. And the articles of the operating agreement, may require that at periodic times or in times of need, the members have to contribute additional capital in order to keep the business going or to expand it. The LLC can also sell additional memberships to raise funds. So the profits are passed in accordance to the amount of contribution initially made or as set forth in the Articles of Organization. Very similar to the way a partnership operates in that situation. Okay. Members are entitled to reimbursement for expenditures. Again, distributions are made pursuant to the operating agreement, and your taxes are reported on your 1040 when you receive a distribution from the LLC, the same way as it's done in a partnership. Okay, as with a partnership, a member has the power, but not necessarily the right to disassociate. That means that if you want to get out, you can get out. However, if your getting out violates the agreement or causes harm to the LLC, you may be liable for damages. There's requirements in most situations for notice, and there are certain triggering events that may lead to disassociation, such as bankruptcy, incapacity, and death. The disassociated member loses their right to participate in management and the right to act as an agent for the LLC. And the member has the right to have their interests bought out by the other members. In some states where the ULLCA has been adopted, that purchase has to be done within 120 days after disassociation. Okay. So the disassociating member cannot force the LLC to dissolve. That's up to the remaining members as to whether they want to continue without that member or to dissolve. And as I said, there's certain things that in the operating agreement can require disassociation or trigger disassociation. Winding up is similar to a partnership, and whether it's caused by the disassociation of a member or just the choice of the membership as set forth in the operating agreement, the winding up can begin. Again, you collect all the assets, all the debts that are owed to the LLC. You pay all liabilities, return assets perhaps to those who contributed certain assets, depending upon what's in the articles of organization. And then you can distribute any money that's left over, if there is any, to the members in accordance with the articles of organization and what it says. So a member's financial interest is considered personal property. You have no ownership rights to LLC property that's owned by the LLC, and unless it violates the articles of organization, you can transfer your interest to other parties. So that completes part 2 of chapter 17. The magic word for chapter 17 is management.